You're tuning in to the Bueno Power Hour podcast. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the very first episode of the Bueno Power Hour podcast. I'm your host, Arthur Bueno, and on this episode, I will be introducing myself and sort of just kick off this newly made podcast, all trial and error. I got inspired by many podcasts, or only a few at least, that I listen to, and figured that I should try one on my for myself. So let's get into the episode. All right, guys. So this is this is my first episode of the Bueno Power Hour podcast, and goddamn, it's been a long time coming. This has been something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and it's something that to tell you the truth, it's something I've dreamed about. Not gonna lie, daydream, I guess, but I've been inspired by quite a bit of podcasters, and it led me to kind of do something like this, because the things that they talk about, the things that they say, they're pretty inspirational, and I'm one to sort of talk about things with people, whether if it's good friends of mine or if it's family members, strangers, for just a good 3 minutes. But yeah, this is certainly something that I've been wanting to do for a while. So I kind of wanted to sort of talk about the premise of it, and from there I will just kind of just talk about myself. So yeah, I guess let's get into it. So the premise of this podcast is for me to interview people that I know personally, who are artists, and people that I am a big fan of. The reason why I'm a photographer and a musician still to this day is because of these people who keep inspiring me to make bodies of work and in music and in photography, and because they're always trying to push something out, and trying to showcase some ideas that they have, and really just do cool shit. And I think that's what I really want to do forever. and because of these people, they're the reason why I still want to do this photography thing, this music thing. So that's really the premise of the Bueno Power Hour. It's me trying to get in contact with these people, have them talk to me for about a good maybe 45 to an hour, maybe even less, even though this is called the Bueno Power Hour podcast, depending on schedules. I'm going to try to break it into seasons, maybe do 5 to 6 episodes a season. And then from there, just talk about, things with them, their life, who they're inspired by, what they're currently doing, and the like. So there are many prospects that I have that I want to do for this podcast, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I just got to schedule everything properly, keep up with this whole thing, and just see where it goes from here. So yeah. So Let me go ahead and introduce myself, and I'm gonna try to be as I'm gonna try to do the best I can on this. So my name is Arthur Bueno. I'm a 32-year-old artist who currently lives in Connecticut. I am a photographer and I am a musician. And I started out as a musician first before I went to photography. So I have been playing music for close to 17 years, I believe. And doing photography about maybe close to 12. Yeah, that sounds about right. So how I started, again, was with music. I got really inspired by the musicians in high school. There were these kids who were dabbling in guitar and playing bass and stuff, and I always thought that was just a really cool thing. And so kind of led me to kind of be inspired by, playing music. In my neighborhood, I had a kid who was playing bass, and who also skated, and he also played guitar too, and he kind of showed me the ropes on that. I wanted to have my own bass. My father bought me a bass when I was young. He was actually a musician himself. Kind of taught me a couple of things before I started figuring it out all on my own. He played the blues. He was a big fan of Eric Clapton. Big fan of Eric Clapton. Big fan of B.B. King. Was a big fan of ballads. He loved, Chicago and the Eagles. He's one of the reasons why I started playing music, because I kind of wanted to impress him. That was kind of my relationship with him. I didn't really know anything else to talk about other than music, and even then, that was kind of hard to talk about with him because him and I are from different mindsets about it. Anyway, I started playing bass, and I had actually these friends of mine in high school who allowed me to play bass for them in a band that we called Cthulhu. It was terrible, but it was just us making noise inside a garage, and we did it. We did it, and it was a lot of fun. Got high, you know what I mean, and just played music and just made really shitty noise. Soon after I started adventuring out onto different styles of music. I wanted something a little bit more positive, a little more hopeful sounding, I guess. It led me to kind of listening to bands like Mineral. Let's see, I believe American Football was one of them. Especially Further Seems Forever. That was a big influence. Further Seems Forever, Dashboard Confessional. Finch. I was a big fan of Finch at one point. Yeah, man. I mean, there was just good music going on. I got I got these influences and such, and just started playing music and really tried to get into it. I was still influenced by some of those bands from right before those bands came out, like Rage Against the Machine and such. And big fan of Failure. I used to love that band quite a bit. Oh my gosh. But other than that, I started, I just kept at it. My father gave me all his instruments before he passed away. He passed away in 2003, a couple of months before I graduated high school. And during that time, I was still looking for a sound that I could identify with, and so came this band called Winter Soldier. And the members, Nathan Swift and Neil Swift, Chris Constantine, they were my influence at the time because they were making some really cool music. I met Neil, actually, or not Neil, rather, it was Nathan, at a community college over in Lemoore. And this was all in Lemoore, California, and Hanford, California. I was living there pretty much all my adolescent life, and got into playing music with those guys. They sort of showed me different bands to listen to. Because of Chris Constantine, I got into listening to like Joan of Arc. Was a big fan of Captain Jazz. American football and all that. I don't know if I was listening to American football in high school, and now thinking about it. But yeah, there was quite a bit of music going around in the scenes, and Hanford was a pretty big one. But again, yeah, I met Nathan in community college. I told him that I did play music and whatnot. They gave me a chance, man. They gave me a chance. I was their bass player for quite a while until I went into playing guitar. Those guys were definitely a big influence into the scene in Hanford. I'll tell you that for sure. They used to be in bands called Takeo, A Blind Gunfighter, A Letter Home, The Bicycle Club. All this different type of music that was just going on at the time, and I decided to be part of it. So yeah, there was one point where I was playing bass, and then I went into playing guitar. I did that for a good amount of years with the band. Then decided to kind of trail off and do my own thing. And during the time I was in this band, Winter Soldier, I actually met a guitarist who most of you guys probably know. He's part of the band's Beastmaker and Haunt. His name is Trevor William Church. And, prior to all the metal that he plays now, he was actually part of the math rock scene, like all this like weird artsy indie rock stuff. So he was listening to Owls and Make Believe and stuff, and all the like. And he was just really ingrained to it, and he was just so good at it, man. A lot of it. So he kind of helped me kind of showcase that, kind of pioneer that in Fresno, and the people in Hanford were already doing that. Like Peel Apparition was one of them. The band that I was affiliated with, Winter Soldier, was the other, doing these weird math rock kind of style of music. So I was in a band with Trevor for about a couple of months. They were called Marathon, and it was just a group of people who were in other bands just wanted to make one band, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, there's actually recordings online for it. I can link maybe sometime soon. So, with that being said, I had actually, decided to move to Fresno right after Marathon was finished and right after Winter Soldier was finished, and it kind of gave me a fresh start. And I actually assembled a band called Elmo Marconi, and this was kind of an excuse for me to kind of because I was going to school in Fresno and went to Fresno City College, and was just kind of studying there and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then during that time, I was playing in this band called Elmo Marconi. I actually made the band. Made it with Mike Adame, Colby Tibbett, Sahab Habab, and Rico Rodriguez. And, I sort of dismissed those dudes and added just, Jesse as a drummer, or at least we did, and had Mike Adame be vocals for Elmo Marconi, and he did a really good job, So, yeah, a lot of history on that. There was a point where Elmo was kind of just, sort of dissolving, and we were just doing these shows here and there and whatnot. And during that time, I started getting into photography. And that became a big factor into how I see art and like how I see music even, and how I see just life in general. And I have to blame my former instructor, Tom Halls, for that. He actually showed me the ropes and introduced me to these pretty brilliant photographers, one of them being Andre Cortesh. And just loved his, like, kind of minimalistic style, and just the way how he composed the images and how he how he printed the photographs were just amazing. So I started getting into photography at a time while I was in Elmer Marconi, and went into a couple of relationships, and one in particular that I was in, had me kind of sort of influenced me to kind of go to college in San Francisco. And so I quit music for a while, and actually went into the Bay Area to pursue photography. And went and did photography for a long time, was a student there for about a couple of years in the Bay Area. Met up with some people like Theo Slavin, who is currently in a band called the Brancas, Sean Custer, Vladimir Munoz, who I've been able to kind of talk to quite a bit over the last few months. It's been kind of nice. Those guys kind of inspired me to become the photographer I am today, especially doing street stuff with Theo and Sean, and with Vlad, kind of leaning toward more of a conceptual view of photography. And I did it. I fucking did it, man. Stayed with my brother and his girlfriend for a number of years before I departed to Connecticut. The woman that I was with at the time moved to Connecticut because she found a job, and I followed her. And pretty much that was it. I tried to find jobs here, and anything photo related, and they all failed until I went into a job that was contracted by the state. It was something that I was really good at, I guess. Eventually got married, did the married thing for a good amount of years, and then got a divorce just last year due to some differences. And now I am here in a basement with two wonderful roommates, and now with a pretty awesome woman that I'm currently with now, that I have good times with all the time. So, that's kind of my life in a nutshell, I guess, huh? I'm shortening it because there's a lot of stuff that I'd like to talk about with it. There's a lot of experiences I would love to share, towards my photography career, towards my, if you call it a career, but my journey at least, and towards my music journey. I still photograph, I still play music, and and that's probably why I'm making this podcast, is because I want to talk with those people to sort of get that inspiration from those people to become a better photographer, a better musician. It's hard, man. It really is hard, and especially with what I'm doing this year, kind of juggling a lot of projects. You got to just make time for art, otherwise you're not going to do it at all. And maybe that's something I want to talk about too. Right now I'm working on a project this year where I write music and photograph, sort of like a multiple medium kind of thing, mixed media at least. The premise of this project is actually for a recording project that I do is under the name Lost Loves, LSTLVS.bandcamp.com. You can check it out. Shameless little shout out there. So for this project, what my whole thing is to write music and photograph each month. So I write a song a month, and I photograph a group of Instax mini black and white images a month. I have limitations for the photo portion of it. I am only granted 2 packs of film. I can still use the leftover images that I had in the previous month. It has to be black and white. I have to post every first Friday of the month. And this will be part of a book that I want to do in relationship with the music that I write. So with the music is basically sort of a not necessarily a sketch. It's more of like a diary, along with how my photographs are made. These are just diaries of how I felt in the month. So I'm writing everything. I'm doing all the musical production. The drums are created using like MIDI software and such, and VSTs. And I had like kind of made guidelines where, I have to at least finish the song a month. I can always go back to them and do little adjustments here and there and just polish them, during the journey of recording all these songs. Sorry, I had to get a drink there. So, yeah, it's just, all this I'm kind of like, working with. I also have a project that I hopefully want to release this year, titled, oh man, I can't even like think of the title right now because I'm kind of tired actually. The title of this book, or the zine at least, is called "I like to sit and chat, but I have a bus to catch." I would like to sit and chat, but I have a bus to catch. And it's basically these street images that I collected for a certain amount of years that I wanted to release, and I've never released before. So I have that project. I also have a project that I'm working with Nika Aquino, who is a fellow Filipina sister that I know of. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hold on for a second. Do that real quick. Oop, hit the microphone here. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. A lot of projects that I want to kind of tackle this year. I want to get a lot done because last year was pretty intense for me. And yeah, so I haven't figured out how I wanted to post this, where I'm going to post it at. But I think I'm going to do it either through SoundCloud or through a Podbean account. But yeah, for the time being, just share this podcast amongst your friends and the people that are in your network. You can follow me on a couple of social media sites, Facebook at Bueno Power, Instagram, Bueno Power. You can follow my blog, buenopower.com. You can also check out my, photography portfolio page, which is arthurbueno.com. And you can also check out my music project, Lost Loves, which is lstlvs.bandcamp.com. I'll hopefully release a couple of new tracks in the coming months, just for funsies, I guess. And yeah, I guess that about wraps it up. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode.